History happened everywhere. A random country, a random time, and a topic pulled from the hat. Then a week for one of us to go away and find out all that we can, then come back and reveal all to the other. You're listening to History Happened Everywhere. Hello and welcome to History Happened Everywhere. I'm Ryan Weir and with me in the studio is Peter Goddard.
Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, well, I've been spending the week basking in the January British sunshine.
Ooh, that sounds gorgeous.
Yes, it's untrue. There is no January British sunshine. But I've been basking in the glow of my screen.
When you're doing the research, where are the main sites you go to? What's the first thing you do?
I tend to start in Wikipedia to kind of figure out where the heck you are. Because if we were smart people, we'd probably already know a lot of this stuff. Yeah. But we have to get the basics down. So I generally start with the Wikipedia.
There is a version of Wikipedia that I discovered, which is like a simple idiot's version of Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
It's like Wikipedia. And yeah, it's perfect for me. It summarizes the pages down to just like 20 words.
Bad man, kill good man.
Yeah, there you go. That's how I prepare.
Hey, well, it always works out fine for me. So you stick with what's working for you.
Right, talking of preparing, it's let's remind ourselves of what we were going to talk about this week. Because I, for one, cannot remember.
Oh, I can.
Cool. All right, let's hit the time reverse button. Beep-a-dee-boop. Let's find out what your country, time, and topic are for next week.
Do it.
Right. Here we go.
Okay, Ryan.
Okay, here we go. Right, so, Peter, your country for next week is Mozambique.
Mozambique. Well, we've made it out of the Alps at least.
I don't know where it is. It could be in the Alps, as far as I know. Okay, and your time period?
I'm hoping modern. I want to go modern.
Okay, time period is 2000 to 2005.
Yes! Awesome.
It is modern. And, okay, so subject. And the subject is religion.
Ooh.
Religion in Mozambique from 2000 to 2005 AD.
Challenge accepted, sir.
Right, okay, blimey, religion. Again, we've had that 3 times now.
Yeah. It's fine, though, because I've got loads of interesting things to tell you about religion and things vaguely connected to religion.
Mozambique, 2000 to 2005, and religion. That sounds like there's going to be lots. Because it's recent.
Yep, I've got lots of good stuff for you. Let's see how you enjoy it.
Okay.
Right.
Commence.
So let us begin.
Start.
Right, so do you know where we are in Mozambique?
I'm going to guess Africa.
Correct. Africa, we're in the bottom right or southeast for more geographically inclined people.
Okay.
You know where Madagascar is, the big island off to the
Yes, I've
east?
seen the cartoons.
It's it's opposite that on the coast there.
Okay.
So that's it's the Republic of Mozambique, which
Right.
we do hear a great deal, and we've often discussed whether or not it's worth talking about. But actually, it's only been the Republic of Mozambique since 1990. And before that, it was the People's Republic of Mozambique.
Oh, so I wonder what the difference is.
It's no longer for the people, I guess.
Yeah. But, okay. Wait, so when it is the People's Republic, they manage it?
Well, I think we'll park this thought because there is the reasons for it, I think, are related to what we were talking. Actually, we're talking about it. Basically, it was a Marxist-led country for a while. So people's republics tended to be communist in some way.
Okay.
And then they stopped being communist, I think, is actually what that means.
That's where I've heard People's Republic tend to be communist. Okay.
Republic of China, for example.
Yes, exactly. Okay, cool.
So you're on the southeastern part of Africa. You're about level with Madagascar. A little bit about the flag. I think the flag's really interesting. Unlike the sort of it's a square or it's 3 rectangles. Mm-hmm. They've got quite a fancy flag. It's horizontal green, black and yellow stripes.
Horizontal green and black stripes, right?
Green, black and yellow.
Green, black and yellow
bands,
stripes.
A green band, a black band, a yellow band.
Yep.
And then, but on the left-hand side, there's kind of a little red triangle.
Okay.
And in that red triangle, there's a yellow star.
Wow.
And in that yellow star, there's a picture of a book. And on top of that picture of a book in the yellow star is also, kind of in the style of a hammer and sickle, a sort of black outline image of a hoe instead of the sickle. And guess what it is instead of the hammer?
Mallet.
AK-47.
Oh, really?
So there's a lot going on in this flag.
So that's an old flag then, as it goes, dates right back, does it?
It's, yes, exactly. Oh, yes, you remember when they used to till the fields with the AK-47. There is a great deal going on in this flag. It's quite interesting. And I can't imagine children draw. You could draw a Union Jack as a child, right? You could do a French flag as a child. You have to have some serious art skills to do your flag as a Mozambique child.
It sounds like, that was a committee that got around there. Well, we have to have an AK-47 in it. Well, yeah, but if we're having that, we have to have the red triangle.
And the book, we'll educate. I mean,
of course we have to have the book, yeah.
The book for education, right? I mean, the symbolism is obviously fairly straightforward. But, it is a flag that tells a story for sure.
Like, how does that come about? Like, what do those all mean? And
well, I can partially help you with that.
Okay, good.
And the hoe and AK-47 hammer and sickle type approach is obviously a key part of it. And a yellow star on a red background is also fairly familiar.
Red star,
as a Marxist-Leninist approach to life as your country.
AK-47, that must be one of the world's top-selling guns.
Yeah, very popular with revolutionaries. It's very cheap.
Must be, right?
Easy to manufacture. It's very reliable and resilient, I believe.
Yeah, it doesn't jam, that sort of stuff.
No, I'm told you can bury it in sand and dig it up sometime later and it should still function.
Yeah.
That may be an urban myth. I'm not sure. I'm not a gun expert.
Hello. This is the voice of the internet. The AK-47 was originally developed for the Soviet military, but today over 100 million have been produced. Many AK-47s are owned by American civilians who have bought more of them than the Russian police and military combined. The AK-47 is relatively inexpensive, costing as little as £100, $70. They are light to carry, easy to use and have very little recoil. They are considered especially reliable under extreme conditions including jungles and in deserts. The flag of Mozambique features an AK-47 with an attached bayonet. This symbolizes both defense and vigilance. Thank you.
The currency, I like the currency. The currency is the new metical.
Was that what it's called?
Yeah.
So 10 new meticals.
Yes, exactly. It replaced the metical, perhaps unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
The old metical was replaced at a rate of 1,000 to 1, so one suspects they had some inflation problems at some point.
Okay.
This is not unlike the Rentenmark that replaced the mark after the inflation in post-war Germany.
I've never heard of the metical.
No,
or
neither
the
had
new
I.
metical.
Right, so
Are they the only ones that have the new metical?
I think so. I think I haven't come across a metical
That
before.
sounds like a fact check, Charlie.
Definitely. Are there any other meticals out
Because like you have pounds and dollars, those tend to be sort of the more common one, or the euros now. I guess there's loads of countries that use those. But it's very rare, it seems, that you'd have one country that just has their own currency and that's it, right?
So a metical, I think it's derived from an Arabic unit of weight. So there may be other meticals, but and it's not just made up out of nowhere. It's from an Arabic weight.
Okay.
Hello. This is the voice of the internet. The metical is a currency unique to Mozambique. One metical is divided into 100 centavos, and worth approximately 1 European cent, slightly less than 1 penny sterling, but slightly more than 1 US cent. A small bottle of water costs approximately 33 meticals. A one-bedroom apartment in the city costs approximately 40,000 meticals. The name metical comes from the Arabic word mithqal, a unit of weight and an alternative name for the gold dinar coin that was used throughout much of Africa until the 19th century. Thank you.
You went to Mozambique recently, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Did you get new meticals?
No, it's just the way I walk.
So I know you're worried about this country's size in relation to France.
Yeah, that's prime in my mind.
So Mozambique's about 800,000 square kilometres, which is about France is about 69% the size of a Mozambique. So it's bigger than France by a third, maybe.
By a third. Yeah.
So pretty chunky.
It's weird because you said 800,000 square kilometres before telling me, and I was doing the calculation in my head because I now know, having done 20 episodes of this,
you know
how
your
big a France is.
size. I know France, not a problem. I'll do the maths.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, bigger than France in area, but they've only got 30 million people. So France has 67 million people.
Okay.
So now you realise you're starting to look at a thinly populated country.
Is it urban or is it more sort of
I think
forests and...
empty largely seems to be. There are towns.
Is it savanna-y kind of or
Mix.
jungly?
It's, economically, there's a lot of agriculture going on. There's grassy plateaus that kind of lead and sort of it's coast.
Yeah.
There's the delta of the river Zambezi.
Okay.
And then it's sort of plateaus and then up into sort of highlands as you go to the west.
Okay.
But yes, like I say, the Zambezi flows into the sea here. I don't know if you're familiar with the 1982 hit song Zambezi.
Can you sing it?
Zambezi, Zambezi.
Zambezi, 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 Zambezi.
I remember that, but only that bit. So I played it back to myself on YouTube. And I thought in my head it might be a song about Africa in some way. It is not. It's about a man who can't pay his rent.
Is he from the Zambezi?
Nope, not at all.
Does he
sounds
wish
like
to
he's
go to
from-
the Zambezi?
Not really. It doesn't come up at all, which is quite perplexing. So famous Mozambicans.
Yeah.
Really-
Don't ask me to name any.
I can name, well, I won't even ask you to recommend. You might know this one. Eusebio,
The Portuguese footballer?
the Portuguese footballer. Shamefully, in terms of other famous Mozambicans, I don't have any. I've just got peri peri sauce.
Wait, what?
Peri peri sauce is Mozambican.
Is it?
Yeah.
What, like Nando's the chicken shop?
Yeah.
For those people that aren't from the UK, there is a chain of restaurants that sell chicken with peri peri sauce on it.
And peri peri sauce is Mozambican.
Okay.
So there we go. That's where we are. So when are we? So 2000 to 2005. You may recall the millennium when the computers stopped working and the planes fell out of the sky and it was catastrophic failures all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
They should have told us about it.
They should have done. So obviously none of those things happened because there was a great scare about the millennium. The year 2000 was going to be the end of the world because everyone had programmed their computers without the capability to have a fourth digit.
The microwave was going to melt because the clock couldn't account for the fact that it was turning into the millennium or something.
Exactly. The machines were going to rise and we were all going to die, as I recall. That didn't happen. So happy days. That was the start, obviously, 2000.
Yeah.
Films-wise, you've got Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Star Wars 3, The Revenge of the Sith.
No
were in this
way,
period.
really?
Musically, U2 are having a beautiful day.
Okay.
Beyonce's Crazy in Love.
Yeah.
And Outkast are saying "Hey Ya" for some reason.
yeah.
So that's musically what's happening. The Tate Modern's opening by the Thames if you're a British/London type person.
Yep. It's beautiful, Tate Modern.
Politically, you've got George W. Bush becoming president in 2000, and we've got Tony Blair through this whole period.
Okay.
The Euro was introduced in 2002.
Really? Okay. See, it's funny.
You think of it as
You're
being really
naming all this
permanent.
stuff, and yeah, like none of these things I would have put in this period.
Right? They seem like they've been around forever because
long
this next
time.
one, see how this goes. Facebook was founded 2004.
That's insane.
Right?
There's no way I would put Hey Ya and Facebook being created at the same time.
Well, look, you can read about it in my MySpace account. So let's introduce Mozambique. Let's go back to the beginning. The early man, the usual story. There were some people there.
Yeah.
This is Africa. Obviously.
Early man got around, didn't they?
They were everywhere at the beginning. Then we had the Bantu migrations, which we've come across in Rwanda, if you remember.
Yes.
This is the 1st of the 5th century. About 1000 AD or thereabouts, you started developing trading areas along the Indian Ocean, so coastal trading places.
Okay.
You developed these sort of autonomous port areas that were centres of trade. And you
Sorry,
start,
Mozambique is on the coast, is it?
yes, if you recall, it's opposite Madagascar on the coast.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
So you start to see a Swahili culture. So this is where Swahili people are from,
Okay.
or are present. And so that's happening in Southeast Africa. Then in 1500 AD, have a quick guess who arrives?
In when?
1500.
1500. James Cook.
I was thinking more generically, nationality-wise.
Winston Churchill.
That's still an
Barry
individual.
White. Okay, let me guess. I think it might be the Portuguese.
It's always the Portuguese, right?
They love a bit of Africa.
They got around. So, yeah, the Portuguese arrived. Starts off with some traders and gold sort of prospector types.
Yep.
They start probing into the interior, which is appropriate because slavery is now kicking off. Quite popular in the area, actually, even before the Portuguese. The tribes on the coast would sell to the Muslim traders to the Middle East.
Okay.
And then to the Portuguese when the Portuguese arrived. So
So I guess the east coast of Africa, it's just a short sojourn, isn't it, from sort of Asia?
sort of up and
get
up
around
and right a bit, and
get
in the
around
Middle East,
Madagascar,
for sure.
and yeah.
So Portugal arrived. Basically, it's the usual colonial situation. They didn't seem to get too closely involved, so they outsourced to private companies, a Mozambique company, Zambezia company, and the Niassa company. So it's one of those outsourcing situations, if you like.
And then walk away and not have any accountability for those corporations and
Well,
companies.
funnily enough, they didn't think the companies did very well, so they actually brought them in-house again. In 1951, the Portuguese colonies in Africa were then rebranded as overseas provinces of Portugal.
Okay.
So they actually kind of brought them back. So in this case, it was a little bit different.
Okay.
Obviously, we're trying to get to 2000, so there's more things happen. Anti-colonialism rises after World War II, which we've seen before. And then there's
Unsuccessful, though, I'm guessing.
No. There's an organisation called Frelimo, the Front for the Liberation of Mozambique. They start a guerrilla campaign against Portuguese rule in 1964. Starts a 10-year independence movement. And then 1974, in Portugal, they have the Carnation Revolution. So Portugal was a dictatorship at this time. A guy called Salazar was in charge. He dies and passes on to the next guy. I forget his name. But basically, everyone in Portugal is fed up with the dictatorship. Part of the reason for that is this constant war in not just Mozambique, but Angola as well, these Portuguese colonies, which is just draining people. They're fed up, basically, of all of the people going away and coming back and just exhausted. So in 1974, there's what's known as the Carnation Revolution in Portugal.
Okay.
Which is a bloodless coup. The military take over. They walk out onto the streets. It's called the Carnation Revolution because the soldiers say, right, everyone stay home. We're going to take over. And everyone doesn't stay home. And in the marketplace, I believe in Lisbon, the people come out and put carnations into the rifle barrels of the soldiers carrying out the coup. So consequently, and probably not unrelated to the fact that this is happening in Portugal, they achieve independence in Mozambique in 1975. So in 1975, independence at last. Frelimo, the Revolutionary Party, are now in charge. Marxist revolutionaries, supported by the Soviet Union. This is where your AK-47 and your hoe are coming from, your hammer and sickle on your flag.
Okay.
Now, the challenge Frelimo have is, guess who's next door? South Africa and Rhodesia. White-controlled apartheid nations. Now, how happy do you think they are about having this now black-controlled country on their doorstep? Answer, not very. So they support and fund an opposing force called Renamo. So from 75, for 2 years, they have Frelimo in charge, and then boom, civil war.
Okay. Why don't they just stick out of it? It's not their country.
It's not really how these things work. Everyone has a fear of the domino effect, and they think, well, the guy's next door. You're the white minority sitting on a black majority. You see, basically next door, all of the Portuguese kind of leave when independence is achieved. Your power is under threat.
Sure.
So you don't really want people getting ideas, so you want to ruin it for everyone.
Okay.
So they support Renamo, who start a civil war that lasts 15 more years of war. So you've had 10 years of revolutionary war, 2 years of things being all right, and then another 15 years of war. As you can imagine, this is not brilliant for your development as a country.
Good if you're selling AK-47s.
Yeah, for those guys, having a lovely time. Everyone else, not so good. So 1992, you finally get to the end of a one-party state and they have some peace talks with Renamo, and that's the start of democracy in Mozambique.
Cool.
So
it took a long time to get there.
And a long and painful time to get there. So
a lot of deaths?
Yes, plenty of death. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
So in the first elections they have in 1994, Frelimo and Renamo then are parties. They're now taking part in elections. Frelimo come out really just ahead. It's really close. Renamo challenges the result. So there's a bit of controversy about whether the election was fair and who really won.
Right.
Not at all current, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But
that wouldn't happen these days.
Exactly. It'd be crazy, wouldn't it? Only an uncivilized country would behave in that way. Interestingly, in 1995, the next year, they joined the Commonwealth, which isn't particularly interesting, except the notable part of that is, of course, they're not a British colony. So they're the first non-British colony to join the Commonwealth.
Oh, okay. So what they elected to?
Yeah, they just said, we want to be part of this club. It looks like
fun.
Good. Yeah, exactly. It's
get to meet the Queen.
Yeah, drinks are free.
I wonder what you get as part of being part of the Commonwealth. There must be some financial incentive.
Trade deals, I suspect, are the most tempting part of it. I can't imagine the Commonwealth Games is the most appealing part of it, but it doesn't hurt, does it?
No. And when is this?
1995.
Oh, right. Okay. They joined the Commonwealth fairly recently then.
I mean, that's 35 years ago. But yeah, I mean, relatively recently.
Well, relatively recently.
Yeah, so because, of course, they weren't part of the British Empire, so they didn't have that sort of natural connection.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so our period is 2000 to 2005 in Mozambique. So I've given you a whistle-stop tour of the history. But in 2000, first thing to happen in February is catastrophic flooding.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, really bad. It's so bad. When I sort of do that bit where when are we,
Yeah.
I generally do a little Google for and there's a couple of websites, and The Guardian in this case had major events. It was one of them that was actually listed in the major events
Oh,
in the
wow.
world in that,
It was that bad.
decade. It was very bad. It was the worst flood in 50 years. 800 people died. But yeah, it displaced 500,000 people. And as late as 2016, people are still living in shelters, having been displaced. The recovery for this thing was pretty substantial. And the reason I raise that is A, it was very significant and it's worth mentioning. But B, it's my terrible segue into you would probably turn to a religion at a terrible time like that.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, right. So religiously speaking, the country is a mix of about 56% Christian, about 18% Muslim, and 7% other.
That's quite a lot of other.
Yeah, so I think what's happened is in other and no religion, there's slightly different numbers I saw on different versions. The sort of traditional beliefs didn't get really represented. So I think the other and no religion actually covers off quite a lot of traditional beliefs rather than there are a large number of atheists roaming around Mozambique. So here's the thing I found interesting was nearly half of the Christians are Zionist Christians.
What's a Zionist Christian, Peter?
I'm glad you asked me that. Well, firstly, are you aware of what Zion is / represents?
Is it heaven?
No, it's Israel generally. So,
It's Israel, is it?
Zionism in Jewish circles would be the sort of dominance of the state of Israel.
Okay.
Zion is usually used to refer to Israel.
And is that Zion is a place?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably more complex than that, but
Okay.
so Zion is a sort of conceptual place, like Jerusalem is both a place and a concept, right?
Jerusalem is a conceptual place.
It's a place, but
It
it's
is a
also a
place.
concept. So we will build Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. Doesn't mean I'm going to do a replica of the Middle Eastern city. It means Jerusalem as the beacon of hope is going to be rebuilt.
Yeah, okay. Build a replica of it.
That'd be really
Endorse it.
disappointing, wouldn't it? Sorry, William Blake. We did it. And we're like, that's not what I meant at all.
All right, tear it down.
This is terrible. So what I found interesting was the Zion in this instance refers to Zion, Illinois.
Oh, that's a place, is it?
Well, yeah, it's
Or is
kind
that
of
a
a mix.
concept?
The place and the concept was, well, which came first? Well, let me tell you the history of it and you can decide. But
Okay.
it is one of those chicken and egg situations because the place was founded by the people who believed. So a chap called John Alexander Dowie at the end of the 19th century
Yes.
was the founder of the Zion Church.
Okay.
So he was a Scottish-Australian minister. So he was born
Wow.
in Australia. He began his career in Melbourne, I think it was, in South Australia. And he was an evangelist and a faith healer.
Nice.
He thought that illness is the work of the devil or possibly demonic possession, and therefore faith will keep you healthy. Right?
Okay.
So he did events, and he was, I think the phrase you'd use is a con man. He was a con man.
Do you know what? The word that jumped into my head was charlatan, but I didn't want to say it until you said con man, so I'll throw that in.
Very much so. So he would hold these events with lots of theatre and a whole lot of you're healed kind of thing going. Some of the rules were you were only allowed to attend if you were a professed believer. Mm-hmm. So they screened the people. He relied heavily on the placebo effect of people coming, getting all ramped up. And he didn't charge for healings.
Right. Well, that's good of him.
If the healing didn't work, it probably meant you weren't holy enough. And being holy correlated very close with giving money to the church. So
Okay.
wasn't a bill, but he took money from all of his, he did tithing, which we've mentioned in previous episodes. So yes, being holy and tithing were very closely related, and being healed and being holy were closely related, but there's no bill for the healing. Don't you worry about that.
Okay. Was he stood there in front of his congregation in a kilt and a court hat?
Sadly, no. He wore a kind of what looks disturbingly like a sort of Ku Klux Klan robe. So these white robes is a characteristic of the Zion Church even today, apparently.
He just goes up and up in my estimation.
Well, it gets worse because he then immigrates to the United States in 1888, settles in San Francisco first, where I love this phrase. I'm not exactly sure how you do this, but he expanded his faith healing into a mail order business.
Wait, so I've got trouble walking. I write to him and I say I need help. So he sends me something through the post?
A postcard saying you are healed. Exactly how it works.
Wow, okay.
I am quite interested in the mechanics of mail order faith healing.
I wonder if that's still going.
Yeah, we should check that out, actually. See if we can find some mail order faith healing today.
Yeah.
And he makes a good few bucks on this. But he's an ambitious guy. He moves to Chicago in 1893 because that's where the World's Fair is taking place.
Okay. That's not a short journey. He's travelling around a lot, isn't he, for a time where travel took a while?
Well, part of the deal of being a faith healer, especially for the placebo thing, you can get someone really excited and they can walk for a bit, but over time they will sort of get to know you and the exoticism will wear off and suddenly you realise you're not actually as well as you thought you were. So moving around a lot is kind of the stock in trade of your faith healer.
Gotcha. And you can also mask that by pretending that you're bringing your faith to the world.
Exactly. You say, well, obviously other people need my help and I'll be off. And then before you realise you aren't actually nearly as well as you thought you were.
Yeah.
But he gets to Chicago and he really becomes quite ambitious here. So now he's developed a huge faith-healing business. He's developed a publishing house. He's got thousands of followers. So he buys a chunk of land north of the city and he sets up a collective there, a private community called New Zion City. So this is your Zion, Illinois, that gives us our name is given the name.
That's a chunk of money. I'm guessing that's not cheap.
Well, no, it's not. But the good news on that result, on that score, is that he takes the land, but then he rents it out to his followers for 15 times the amount he paid for it.
Right. Okay, of course he did.
Yeah, and the leases, these are on leases. Guess how long a lease is in Zion City?
Oh, it'll be some crazy religious thing, right? So it'll be 90,000 years or something.
1,100 years.
There we go.
Enough to see you into the near future.
Yeah.
The contracts, so you sign a contract to live in this city, and that includes you have to have no drinking, no pork, no use of medical doctors, or real doctors, as I like to call them.
Okay, so only him.
Yeah, basically. And he had the right to chuck anyone out of the town if they broke any of the rules with no compensation at all.
Okay, well, I mean, look, it's his town, right?
Exactly. He literally
Those are the rules, so.
Owned the whole town, basically. And the phrase that pays for this guy was, put simply, the entire Zionist enterprise was founded by a professional con man.
Wow, okay.
So this is this guy, right? And he's set up this church. But then this is in the turn of the century.
What? Sorry, just Zionists, what do they believe? Like, what's the difference?
So we'll come to it, but basically this faith healing stuff that your wellness is or illness is caused by a lack of faith or possession by the devil or devilish behaviours.
Okay. So I would move to that town if I believed in the faith healing and in the devil.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any
part of me.
cult, isn't it? It's the person that you're really following. I don't think it's necessarily the message. Although we will talk a little bit about that in a second, because eventually he was bankrupt.
Good.
But his descendants, as with many of these churches, it's sufficiently self-fulfilling prophecy that missionaries from that church came to South Africa in 1904. So there's a few people, a guy called John G. Lake and a Petrus Louis Leroux,
Okay.
also faith healers, but they come to South Africa. Now, this is where it gets quite interesting for me, because what you've essentially got is, as you say, a fraudulent enterprise, really. But in South Africa, that is still the case. But equally, when you ask what do they believe in a kind of new person. They don't believe in the traditional separation of, for example, the races. So they would have, their church was known for mixing black and white in a way that wasn't done at the time.
Oh, right.
So, yes.
That seems unusual.
Well, absolutely. So, yeah, it seems like this church is fraudulent or based on deception, but actually that's pretty progressive for its time.
But if you want to make money, then you want to include as many people as possible.
Absolutely. But equally, it's quite a risky thing to do, to kind of set yourself against the establishment like that.
Very true, yeah.
But it has this whole promise about sort of reshaping humanity into redemption. So this notion of your race is kind of irrelevant because you're potentially this new human type.
Okay.
So you can imagine how this is appealing to a oppressed black population.
Sure.
So this church then grows in South Africa particularly. such that it's sort of a southern African church to this day, which is why half of the Christians in Mozambique are this Zionist Christian, which you don't really find in a lot of other places. So they think there's now currently about 15 million Southern Africans belonging to one form of these Zionist churches.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Right, and it's
all paying their money towards, or their donations
how it is today
towards
is
the church.
a slightly different question, because how something starts is not how it is 100 years later necessarily. So
it evolves and adapts, and
it evolves and adapts. And is it a faith healing sort of environment now? I don't really know, but it's just I would say, it's a normal church today.
Okay,
I just thought that was an interesting journey of this small sect in, weirdly, the United States becoming the half of the Christians in Mozambique.
Well, beyond that, like beyond the state, this actually originated in Australia, migrated out to the Americas, and then to Africa. Like, I mean, it's travelled around the planet.
Right, just from this one guy just doing his faith healing thing.
Yeah, amazing.
Who was behind the global phenomenon that is Christian Zionism? Where did they come from? Where did they go? And who did they touch to get there? Welcome to People of History. I'm Professor Derek Schwarmer, and today we're meeting John Alexander Dowie, founder of the Zionist Church. Born in Edinburgh in 1847, John Alexander was the son of a humble Scottish tailor and his wife.
Get down here and eat what the Lord has provided, son.
Aye, come and sup your porridge, my love. But I don't want to be late for school, Papa.
In 1860, at the age of just 13 years old, John and his family emigrate.
Pack your bags, son. We're off to Australia.
Oh, how exciting, yes, Father.
The 7-week voyage to Australia exposed John to the diverse peoples of Europe, the Spanish, the Germans, and the French.
Hello, new friends. Would you like a slice of haggis?
Bonjour, what is it? Yeah, what is this substance? This in your case.
It's oats and offal in a sheep's stomach.
Arriving in Australia, the family moved into their new home in Adelaide.
G'day, mate. Here's the keys. Welcome to the neighbourhood.
Thank you, kind sir.
As an immigrant to the nation, John quickly learned to integrate with his Australian school friends.
Who are you?
Oh, I mean, g'day, Cobber, I'm an Australian also.
Oh, I thought you were flaming G'lar, but I realise you're all right now, mate.
Thanks, mate. Stroof.
Completing his education in theology, John puts his knowledge to the task as a pastor in the local church, appealing to the poor and disenfranchised, such as those within the Irish Australian community.
G'day and welcome to the church, me cobber, to be sure. Oh, we do enjoy your parade, sir, we do, to be sure, cobber bonzer.
But a terrible accident. One night, the church burns to the ground.
Oh, that's a terrible shame. I'll just fetch the insurance papers.
With his newfound wealth, John Alexander leaves Australia for America, arriving in San Francisco in 1888. John starts a new church and integrates himself with the West Coast community.
Hey, man, are you like a man of God?
Oh, aye, yes, cobber. I mean, my dude, the new...
But after legal and financial setbacks, John's eye is drawn to the World Fair in Chicago, where he stages healing events to the global crowd.
Roll up, cobbers, dudes and brethren, healing here, come this way.
People from as far as Mexico.
G'day, cobber, jefe, would you like some chicken?
No, I want to hear more about your God.
Russia.
Da, comrade Godman, tell me more of this deity.
Oh, for sure, comrade, come this way, step right up, dude.
After his success at the World Fair, John starts the Zionist Church, but dies shortly afterwards.
Oh, my dude.
But the church lives on, taken to Africa by John's followers, where the theology is preached to the poor black Africans.
Oh.
To the poor black Africans.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. So that's the Zionist Church in Mozambique. So that's religion. Mozambique, 2005.
Yeah, I didn't think you needed to stress that was religion. I got that.
So some other stuff I was reading about was, and kind of related, was that one of the things that seems to be the case about church life in Mozambique is it sits alongside and intertwined with traditional beliefs. There doesn't seem to be a huge disparity between, I believe in the church, therefore I must not believe in traditional beliefs. They seem to coexist quite effectively. They have witch doctors in Mozambique, known as Tinyanga. So a Nyanga, I think, is the singular. So Tinyanga is the plural for these witch doctors. Hey, Ryan, I think I might have been possessed by a spirit.
A Nyanga?
No, I'm quite relaxed about it. So in Mozambique, there are 1,500 doctors and 70,000 witch doctors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can imagine it's relatively challenging to go and see a regular doctor. So witch doctors are very much part of life over there. So things we know about witch doctors are they become witch doctors because they are possessed by a spirit that says, you've got to heal people. So they get, one day, a spirit will force them to abandon to quit their job, abandon their activities and just go healing. And this becomes their calling, not because they choose it, but because this spirit possesses them and sort of forces them to do so.
Yeah. I wonder how that presents, whether it's like they just wake up one morning and they just feel like they'd never felt that way before. Because I the temptation is to think that of those 70,000, a number of those might be doing it for ulterior motives. But then there'll be others that genuinely believe that they have been inhabited by spirits. So I wonder how that sort of presents itself to them.
Yeah, I think it's...
They look in the mirror one day and they're like, there's something else in here.
Yeah, so from what I can make out, they do pretty well in terms of remuneration for their activities.
Sure.
But none of them would like driving around in Mercedes particularly. So it seemed like it was...
And you have to deal with sick people and dying people and people with injuries and...
Yeah, and they're quite serious about this. So they obviously, they're healers, so they use compounds of herbs and roots, like you might imagine, which conceivably could be effective folk medicine.
Sure,
that hasn't yet been properly understood, so may work, may not work, I don't know. They also put their patients through ceremonies. So that the rather unsettling picture I saw was a guy bathing in goat's blood.
Right.
So there's a guy, and by bathing, it was more like showering. Oh, no, it was really quite something. The goat,
I do that as a weekly thing now.
Yeah, they didn't have a bath of goat's blood, though. They held the goat up and cut its throat.
Yeah.
And the guy was crouched under this, just showering essentially in this blood.
That's what I do.
Is that how you get ready to work in the morning?
No, not in the morning. It's just weekly. It's like a Friday morning thing.
It's a Friday thing. Is it invigorating?
Yeah.
It's just like gives you a bit of vim for the weekend, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just now part of my daily routine.
Yeah. Where do you get your goats?
Farm. Goat farm.
I was going to say you were seconds from saying goat farm.
It's a silly question, wasn't it?
It was. I regret that. The alternative, which I recommend for you, is special cuts with a razor blade all over your body.
Oh, no, I stopped doing that.
Well, maybe midweek. I don't know. Just, I mean, don't rule it out, Ryan, is all I'm saying. Skeptic. Yeah. Just saying you're missing out on some medicine, that's all.
Okay.
So it's some different spirits. So it was quite interesting because I thought the spirits would all be something reasonably consistent, right? Like grey aliens are all kind of basically the same.
Wait, what? How did aliens come into this?
Well, I was thinking that we have notions of, so a ghost is a person, kind of see-through, kind of floaty, and an alien is kind of grey, big eyes. Okay. You get these sort of communal concepts of these supernatural phenomena or these unlikely phenomena.
Yeah.
So I thought it would like spirits all look kind of similar or are kind of similar in one way or another.
Okay.
But not at all. So we had one who was possessed by a white Rhodesian soldier. One was possessed by the spirit of their grandfather. One had two spirits, one which was a lion and one which is a leopard. So, it's not all people, they're not all related. Okay. They're all these different things. My favourite being Flora Antonio, who who was possessed by the spirit of a shrimp.
Oh.
Right? One of these guys I was reading about, he specialises in the treatment of victims from crocodile attack, which I felt was a heck of a niche to be occupying as a healer.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing some pretty gruesome injuries there, right?
Right? And
you've got to get a hit rate. You've got to get some fixed.
someone's got to get better.
Someone's
right,
got to get better, otherwise your job is on.
Well, here's the thing. I also read quite an interesting article that proposed that basically a lot of these practices were really helpful in healing post-conflict trauma. So bearing in mind...
Cornflake trauma?
Cornflake trauma, no. The goat...
Say that again? It does what with the cornflakes?
I'm just saying, if you don't have milk, you can use goat's blood, as long as it's chilled. So yeah, they had this idea that basically spirits, like any kind of therapy, they give you a mechanism for processing trauma. So you've had 35 years of war, you've been fighting and killing and seeing, dying, and these rituals and cleansing and the various things you can do help you process your trauma is the theory. So although you are not necessarily a licensed therapist, the things you are doing are still helpful.
Sure.
So there's an example here. There are things called this is going to be tricky. Mfukwa spirits. So these are spirits of fighters and civilians who were killed during the war who didn't receive proper burial rites, right? So in 1993, there was some Tinyangarin province that were asked to perform a ritual along a road because there was a spirit of a Renamo commander who'd been killed there and he was stopping anyone using the road. This spirit was preventing anyone using the road, apparently. So the Tinyanga came in, performed a ritual. The spirit said, can I have some money, please?
What's he want with money for?
Well, it's not easy in the spirit world. You can't buy crisps. The vending machines are a real pain. And a week later, the spirit was caught with various rituals, pieces of fabric. Well, exactly. It's Ghostbusters, right? So this ritual gave the community an opportunity to process whatever feelings they had about the people they had killed or seen killed or had killed.
Yeah.
And they also have purification rituals, which you can imagine might be helpful in a scenario where you had seen or done some things you didn't necessarily feel good about.
It's closure, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's closure. It's finding a way to sort of move on from those traumas that you might have suffered.
Exactly. So, yes, I'm a witch doctor, and you might find it easy to kind of look down on that as a non-scientific approach. But as with anything, if it helps enable people to process their experiences, then maybe there's value in it after all. Now, interestingly, Mozambican witch doctors belong to an organisation, right? Called Amatramo, the Association of Traditional Medics of Mozambique. And
funny they didn't use the words witch doctor in that.
I know, isn't it though?
Because they could have had WDs, like MDs.
They could have done.
Pete Goddard MD, Pete Goddard WD.
WD.
Yeah.
I said, so I didn't spend 4 years at Witch Doctor College to be not referred to as WD.
If you had 40 years, you'd be WD-40.
Nice. Well, you're the lubricant for society.
Oh, come on.
So anyway, Amatramo represents these guys and they license people. So you have to be licensed.
That's a scam in of itself.
Well, they're quite worried about fake witch doctors, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And they're quite serious about they're recognised, officially recognised by, and they work with the Ministry of Health in Mozambique.
Okay.
Because once again, most of the population have no access to a doctor, but they do have access to a traditional medicine / witch doctor.
Okay. Hey, Pete, I had that appointment at the witch doctor.
Oh yeah, he managed to fit you in, did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I told the witch doctor I was in love with you.
What?
Yeah, I told the witch doctor I was in love with you.
And then?
Well, and then the witch doctor, he told me what to do.
What did he say?
He said that ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla bing-bang, ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla bing-bang.
Ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla bing-bang? Ooh-ee, ooh-ah, ting-tang, walla-walla bing-bang?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's funny, because I popped over and I saw him as well.
You did?
Yeah, I told the witch doctor you didn't love me true.
You what?
I told the witch doctor you didn't love me nice.
Well, and then?
Then the witch doctor, he gave me this advice.
What did he say?
He said that ooh-ee, ooh-ah-ah, ting-tang, Walla, walla bing bang, ooh, ah ting tang, walla walla bing bang.
Ooh ah ting tang, walla walla bing bang, ooh ah ting tang, walla walla bing bang.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, he's a very wise man. So now, confusingly, I'm going to go back to Zionist churches.
Okay.
Or not particularly about Zionist churches. It's about the difference between Zionist churches and Catholic churches, because Catholicism is more or less the remaining half of Christianity in Mozambique.
Yep.
But obviously from a very different background. So the Zionist Christianity came in sort of under the radar, if you like, breaking the rules, giving the sort of black Southern African people a sense of their identity and potential, whereas the Catholic Church was the religion of the Portuguese.
Yes.
So this is your colonizers' religion.
Perhaps not one that you might want to embrace.
Well, exactly. So the church was not embraced, shall we say, by the Frelimo. So Frelimo was the revolutionary organization.
Okay.
They were Marxist, communist revolutionaries. As you know, hopefully, communists do not really like religion, the opium of the masses, if you will.
Okay.
So for a long time, the Frelimo oppressed the church, basically. They also really disliked Jehovah's Witnesses for some reason. And at one point, over 20,000 Jehovah's Witnesses were sent to re-education camps. That's about 1976.
Wow. Re-education camps.
Re-education camps,
Yeah.
right? That's a phrase that pays. But over time, the Frelimo kind of moved from an idealistic Marxist new government, as with the process that you see with a lot of communist governments, is they kind of then make their accommodations with capitalism over time. They make their accommodations with the church over the time. And now they're just the party that is in charge. But there is one other sort of concept I'd like to share with you, which is not really religious, but it's interesting, which is in colonial Portugal, they have this concept called an assimilado.
Ooh.
So there's the traditional divisions between race. I was going to just say white and black, which obviously race.
Yeah.
But assimilados were the sort of elite within colonial Mozambique, this native elite within colonial Mozambique. And to be an assimilado, you had to swear loyalty to the colonial state, promise to only speak Portuguese at home, so essentially abandon your identity as a Mozambican and become as Portuguese as you possibly could, adopt European habits, and have a Portuguese official vouch for your character, obviously. But interestingly...
And this is in our time period?
No, this is pre-revolutionary Mozambique, so Portuguese colonialism.
Right.
So the assimilados, as with the middle class you see in a lot of revolutionary situations, it's the middle class that drives it really more than the oppressed mass. The theory of Marxism is that your starving workers rise up, but the thing about the starving workers is they're starving and busy trying to feed themselves. And frequently you see that it's actually the middle classes that drive these kinds of catastrophic social change. And so it was largely the assimilados formed a large chunk of the Frelimo leadership when they got into the revolution and took over.
And what was in it for them?
The assimilados?
Yeah.
They were still second-class citizens. You were still a native and not a Portuguese colonial. But they then were the elite. But at the end of the revolution, things were pretty grim. They essentially had a bankrupt country. The illiteracy rate was over 90%. And there were, in the country, 6 economists, 2 agronomists, so agricultural experts, no geologists, and less than 1,000 black high school graduates in the entire country.
Wow. Of 30 million.
Of 30 million, yes.
There or
I suspect
thereabouts.
it was slightly less then, but
Yeah,
still
but it's
1,000
not vastly,
high school graduates, not university graduates.
Right.
So the reason I relate this to the church was, part of the reason all this was so bad was that the Portuguese made no effort at all to educate the local people, and they left it up to the Catholic Church, who did not do their job as far as I can make out.
I don't think I get this assimilado thing. So, what? I just don't get it. Who was telling them that they had to behave that way?
The Portuguese. So you are a white Portuguese person.
So
you
as
are top
part of the
tree.
colonial time, during the colonial period,
Yeah, during the colonial period.
the Portuguese went, right, you'll behave like a Portuguese person or else, or
No, it was a class
if you
of
do,
person.
you will get
Yeah, there were
a
benefits
benefit.
to it. You could have certain jobs. You were entitled to certain positions.
Okay.
And you were better regarded than
Okay.
a native, for want of a better
Native
word.
Mozambique.
Yeah.
Beakian. Yeah. Okay.
You tended to be more educated. You were allowed to do more or government jobs or things like that.
So those figures you were quoting at the end there, that didn't include those people.
That's a good question. I would imagine it did.
Because if they
include
were
those people.
more educated, then how come were they just the 1,000 high school graduates?
That's a good question. I'll have to check that.
Oh, okay.
I would imagine. No, I'm not going to answer it.
No, imagine.
No, okay.
Imagine.
I'm imagining that the assimilados made up most of those high school graduates. I said it.
You did. You imagined it.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's now fact.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
No, that's fine. Like, I'm just curious. Like, how does that work? Like, what's the benefit of doing that if you're not getting educated? And so maybe those figures that you're quoting there, I'm imagining that it's not the assimilados.
All right. Voice of the Internet will let us know.
All right.
Hello. This is the voice of the Internet. By 1958, there were 4,353 assimilados in Mozambique. This was a very small percentage of the total population of 6,234,000. 1,000 black students graduated high school, most of which were the children of assimilados. Despite their low numbers, many of these educated Africans played an important role in the struggle for liberation against the Portuguese. Thank you.
Can I just ask, when am I getting to try my peri-peri chicken?
Yeah.
Because normally,
about
like,
that.
we'll do like a little tasting or something, and you'll bring me some food or something to try. And you mentioned early on that there was some peri-peri.
I did. The problem
Sauce.
was the category is religion, just trying to drive
Right.
the spirits out.
You could drive the spirits out. I'm happy with that. There's plenty of spirits to drive
Lucky I didn't
out.
bring a goat.
String it up in my shower.
So I have one final thing to tell you, which is entirely unrelated to everything, but it's upbeat, so I'm going to share
Cool.
it with you. In 2000, in our period, Maria de Lourdes Mutola took gold at the 2000 Summer Olympics in the women's 800 metres in Sydney.
Nice.
Now, this is the first ever Mozambican gold.
Yeah.
Ms. Lourdes Mutola was known as the capital city of Mozambique is Maputo. She was known as the Maputo Express.
Nice. That's
Right?
a great name.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mozambique has only ever won.
It's either a
one-
train or a newspaper.
Now you've introduced the newspaper. I'm less keen on it.
Like you'd quick check the classifieds in the Maputo Express.
Well, now you've ruined poor Maria de Lourdes Mutola's
I don't
nickname
think
for
she's
me.
crying into a gold medal
No, she's doing all right.
anytime soon.
So in the history of the Olympics, Mozambique has only ever won one other medal, a bronze in 1996. Who do you think won that?
What do you mean, who? I don't know any Mozambicans.
You do? One, Lourdes Mutola. It was her again.
Oh, it was her again.
So she is responsible for 100% of Mozambique's medals in the Olympics.
Bronze and gold.
Yeah, and interestingly, it wasn't just that she won this one gold. She is generally considered, I read, to be one of the greatest 800-meter women runners of all time.
Wow.
So a totally unrelated topic, but I wanted to celebrate something nice.
That's so cool. That's great. Was she religious?
Yes.
Let's just say yes.
Yes, and that's why that's relevant.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Maybe like she
She said, thanks God for making me super fast.
super fast. The express. Yeah. I'd like to run fast. That would be if I was going to have a superpower, it'd be running fast.
Really? How fast though?
Like super fast.
Super fast, not like 24 miles an hour.
Well, how fast is that?
Oh, it's less than 30. It's
Like, how fast do I run at the moment?
well, I think a good 100 meters is about 10 miles an hour.
Okay.
So
Then yeah,
a
I'd
good
do
sprint.
I'd do a
would be
24.
24. You get places.
Yeah, but not very
hungry all the
fast.
time.
All right, no, double that. 50 miles an hour. No, I want to run at 100 miles an hour. That's how fast I want to run. Like, if this is my imagination, right? I get to pick whatever I want.
Absolutely, but you'd be so hungry all the time.
500 miles an hour.
The energy you'd be consuming, you'd be as soon as you get anywhere, you'd have to eat a goat.
I want to be able to run fast enough that I can run on the surface of water like those lizards.
I don't think that's a function of speed, is it?
Sure.
So just skimming across like a stone.
Yeah, it's like skimming like a stone. The surface tension goes hard.
Oh my lord! Unpick that one.
Pete, well done.
you very much.
Is there any other little tidbits you want to share? Anything you found?
Mozambican things. I'm gonna say no. I'm not sure.
No, we don't have to. I love that. That was great. I was particularly taken with the story of the Zionist Church. I'm intrigued about this one particular chap. It's amazing how these often start with one guy and his vision, and how did they really believe it? Like, did they get to a point where they convince themselves that, well, maybe there is something in this or not?
I'm a big believer that you talk yourself into these things. Yeah, you go.
If you're a narcissist and you're striving for that attention, you could convince yourself. I'm pretty sure of it.
And in the short term, some people are getting so carried away they are actually feeling better. So look, this is totally working.
You're getting that praise all the time, right?
Yeah, and then you slip into, well, okay, so I'm going to get John over there to pretend to get better, but only so that it inspires other people and gives them that confidence so that they can have the faith that they need to get better. And you can justify a tremendous amount to yourself if you're hungry enough.
Yeah. So what you're saying is I should start my own religion.
I've always wanted to start a cult, actually. So if we do another podcast, we could. Yeah. I say we'd start a cult.
About history.
Something much easier to research than that.
Fair enough. Okay, well, look, well done, Pete. You nailed it. Episode 20, this was.
20.
So well done.
We're on our way to 22. I don't know where I was going with that. I was thinking we were on our way to a year, because I thought if we do one a week and we're on 20, that's...
Not close.
No.
It's 53, right?
So that's why I started
how many weeks in a year? 54?
54.
How many weeks in a year?
52.
It's 52, is it? Okay, right. That was Mozambique. Episode 20 in the bag. We're going to move on to episode 21, which would be my episode. So it's time to run the Derslator.
Right, can I press the button?
Yeah.
I never get to press the button. Right,
of course you can.
I'm coming over.
All right. And okay, we're running. The pistons are pumping.
Right.
The oil is greasing.
Right, and your country is Algeria.
Okay. Algeria. It's a country.
It's a place, right? It's not unknown. It's
sure.
Algeria. A huge amount about it. Your time period is 1940 to 1950.
I love that period of time.
It keeps coming up for you, doesn't it?
I haven't done 40 to 50, so I'm okay with that.
And your topic is nature.
Oh, cool. We did that one for Sweden, didn't we?
Was that nature?
Yeah,
okay.
It was. So we're going to learn all about nature in Algeria in 1940 to 1950.
I look forward to finding out what you know.
That sounds cool. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
that sounds all right.
Huh?
Yeah. Right. Okay. We have to do some admin, Peter.
Yes, we do. So if you like what you heard or hated what you heard or what we said was wrong, do get in touch. We're on hhepodcast@gmail.com or on all the social media, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, on @HHE
That's right. And if you're enjoying the show, then please do subscribe on your podcast providers, particularly on Apple Podcasts, which does help us. We're now also available on YouTube, so you can find us on the YouTube. It's HHE Podcast on YouTube. So find us there, and you can listen to this and see our lovely logo for an hour. You can't see us yet. We'll do a live one eventually, but it's just our voices for the time being.
Also, tune into the verdict, which will come out next week, where Paul Dursley, our friend, mentor, and advisor, will tell us how terrible we are
as people.
So do get in touch. If you're interested in joining the HHE podcast community, you can subscribe to our newsletter and a little weekly update on what we're up to at hhepodcast.com. Little subscribe button on there.
Okay, Pete, thanks again. Another awesome episode from you. We've learned so much about Mozambique. This is fantastic. You're the best. And I'll be back here this time next week to tell you all about Algeria. So you've been listening to... History happened everywhere. Why is it called Mozambique? Do you know what the name means?
I don't know, but the Zambezi River might give it the Zam.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Mose
sounds like mosquitoes. Mosquitoes on the Zambezi. There we go. Fun fact.